Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And of course, the one big thing that we all need to really make our businesses successful is money, financial planning, all these various things. And so that's going to be what we're talking about today, but we're not going to be talking about just how much money you've got in the bank, how much money you've got in your 401k. We're going to be talking about how to truly build wealth for the future, which of course is things besides just money. So please join me in welcoming Tim McNeely to our program today. Welcome, Tim.
Hey, I am so thrilled to be here, Deb, and thrilled to serve your audience and be talking about things that normally don't get talked about.
Right. Because that is one of the things that people don't discuss. They don't want to talk about money. Right now, of course, it's, people are preparing their taxes, and so they're having to think about it, and they might have pulled a P&L and all of those things, but we don't plan, and I always, hello, I'll raise my hand on that. We don't always plan in detail for the future, not only personally, but also obviously with our business. So many times businesses are, month to month type of business. You lose one client, something drastic happens and you lose your business. And it really doesn't take very much to plan for that. And so that's what I love being able to talk with you about.
Yeah, thrilled to be here. Well, and not just planning on a simple level is
Right.
As entrepreneurs and business owners, they have complicated lives.
Right.
And
Right.
you need different planning strategies that doesn't work for the person working at their job. So that's what we're really going to dive in today and talk about is how do you build an optimal financial world for business owners and entrepreneurs.
Right. Well, and let me tell folks just a little bit about you, and then we really will jump into this because I think it's a subject that everybody needs to hear about, especially if you're a small business owner or an entrepreneur. So today's successful entrepreneurs do not run their companies just to generate more business for themselves. Many of you want to maximize your personal wealth so you can build an amazing life of significance. Accomplishing your goals can be challenging because many of you have complex situations and many moving parts to your businesses and financial lives. That's why I invited Tim McNeely, CEO of the LifeStone Companies, to speak with us. Tim has a passion for helping entrepreneurs who are driven for more. It all started when he married his dentist. Tim is a recognized leader in the business community. He is a speaker, contributing author for popular business publications, and was recently asked to contribute the foreword to a special edition of Becoming Seriously Wealthy: How to Harness the Strategies of the Super Rich and Ultra Wealthy Business Owners. So again, Tim, let's just jump into this. So welcome, and we're so glad that we've got you here.
Yeah, it's an absolute thrill.
Well, let's go back I almost poked the wrong button and disconnected this. Heavens. Let's go back to what started this. Why did you decide that this is your passion in life?
Well, I started life at a young age being a financial advisor. 18, worked at Domino's, and my next job was being a financial planner. And I always thought it was my job as an investment advisor to manage investments. Well, met and fell in love with my wife, who happens to be a dentist. And for our listeners, right, falling in love is a great time. You remember, talking about your hopes and your dreams and your future together. Well, my wife and I did that too. But we had another visitor in our relationship, and that visitor was her dental practice. We'd be out on date night or talking about our future, and all of a sudden the conversation went from our plans to, Tim, I got to hold back my paycheck so I can make payroll.
Right.
Or that grumpy patient I saw today, man, I just know I'm going to get in trouble. Or I've got to fire an employee, and if I don't do that right, I'm scared of the liability.
Right.
And I was really struggling with being an advisor at that point. So I essentially found myself in a job I hated, and I couldn't take care of the person I love the most. And many of your listeners, what that's like, where you just feel like you're not having an impact, like you're not changing the world in the way you want to do. And so that's where I really started studying. What do the best of the best do? What do the the ultra wealthy do? What do the elite wealth managers do? How do they have an impact for their clients? And we really started to assemble a team of individuals, a family office, so to speak, a team of the best people who could help us achieve our most important goals. And so we worked with the business banker to refinance our building and freed up the cash flow. We brought in a practice consultant and really got the business running well. We got back to being on top of the world. But sometimes me, just like our listeners, right? Life throws you a curveball.
Right.
And
You get up there on the top of the world and
you think, all right, we got it now. And then all of a sudden that curveball that you weren't expecting. And Dana started to have a lot of problems with her hands. They started to hurt her so bad that she couldn't even hold forceps to do extractions anymore.
Not good as a dentist.
Not good. And now it's not just making payroll we're worried about. It's how are we going to pay the mortgage on our house? How are we going to pay our personal bills? What's going to happen if she can't practice dentistry? And we're people of faith and spent some time in prayer. And once I had my head on straight, I implemented another lesson that I've learned from the super rich. And that's called stress testing. We took a look at our plans. We trusted them, but we wanted to verify what was in place. And through this stress testing process, we caught an error in her plans. We learned that the disability policy she bought when she first got out of school wasn't set up correctly, right? Some well-meaning advisor who truly had her best interest at heart. I don't think he was a predator, but he was a pretender. He didn't have the deep understanding to really set things up correctly. So we caught
and you
that
are
error.
conceivably going to have to use the disability policy.
Exactly. So right, and imagine how you would feel. You've paid on this policy for years, and now you need it, and it's not going to be enough money. Well, that's the situation we found ourselves in. And the stress testing our plans caught that error. We changed it, breathed a massive sigh of relief, because that one change gave us the income we were going to need. And I'll never forget the day sitting down in San Diego. We were in Dr. Schickman's office, one of the top doctors out there, coming in, waiting for him to tell my wife if she had a future in dentistry. And the reason I won't forget that day, Deb, is it didn't matter what he told us when he walked in the room. We had run the numbers, we had done the planning, and we knew we were going to be okay. And that's what gets me up every single morning, is I never want another business owner, another entrepreneur, another dentist to ever find themselves in that situation. Not on my watch.
Right. You know, and that's what is so much of a challenge for a small business owner, an entrepreneur, is even thinking about things like that. You know, we're so busy focused on got to sell that widget, got to make that product, got to do, got to do, that we don't think about the future, and part of that is, we're ostriches, because, and I remember a long time ago when my parents were approached with buying long-term care insurance, and my father would not even consider it because that was planning for the bad, and he wasn't going to plan for the bad. And, and it was one of those things that, it just, and he wouldn't do it. He had life insurance, all of these other things, but, we many times we didn't even stop to think about what it is, or it's so far off that we can always do it some other time, especially something like a disability or even retirement, or thinking about selling your business. That's so far in the future that we never stop to think, maybe we should start doing it when we're first starting the business, or, catching up now and doing it because we haven't been doing it.
Yeah, those little nudges. So, right, once again, going back to the stress testing concept, 1979, a plane took off for a sightseeing expedition. They were leaving New Zealand, and they were heading up to Antarctica to go see the sights. And little beknownst to the pilots, the navigation system of that plane was off by 2 degrees.
Ooh.
And so by the time they descended through the clouds over Antarctica, they didn't realize they'd been placed in the path of an active volcano. They couldn't see the volcano because the ground, just like the volcano, was covered in snow. And by the time the warning alarm sounded and said, pull up, pull up, pull up, it was too late. And all 249 people tragically lost their lives. A horrible, horrible accident. And the great news is today we've gotten much better at catching things like this. But the point remains, right? We are all heading towards our financial future. Some of us are drifting towards financial security, financial stability. Some of us are drifting towards a financial mess. And if you wait too long to course correct, you may not be able to recover.
Right. Oh yeah. And it's important, and to even if you haven't been doing, to at least make an attempt, and maybe that is to do a review of everything, and one of the things, and you wrote the foreword to the book, and I love it. Hold the book up. Let's see the book.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So there we go.
You have to Vanna. There we go. And one of the things that you talked about in there was the fact that, as you were sharing your story that you just shared, that you would be all right, no matter what was going to happen. But we don't want to think about that, because we're in there, got to make got to keep going, got to do all of this stuff. And, we really don't want to think about something going wrong. More importantly, we don't want to, we don't even think about something going right. One of the things that you discussed in the book is the fact that you took the steps to make sure that if you needed to, you could sell the practice.
Mm-hmm.
You could in essence get out of that business and do it in a way that wasn't just, hey, let's shut the doors.
Mm-hmm.
And that I think is one of the things that so many people never stop to think about is, okay, if I have to, can I sell? And sometimes you can't. I probably could not sell my business because my business is me. But many other businesses definitely could be transitioned in some way. So plan for that now. Maybe you have your employees that you could transition it to, maybe you could sell it, all of those things. And so those are things that you definitely can be thinking about no matter when, and where you are in the business cycle.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And I think, one of the issues we have in the financial world, it's an advice problem.
Mm-hmm.
And, going back to my story and what happened to us, right? We were working with an advisor who was what I call a pretender. And we talk about this in Becoming Seriously Wealthy, right? Well-meaning advisors, but they don't have the technical expertise to really serve business owners and entrepreneurs. And it's interesting. In the book, we underwrote a lot of research. And when we talked to, different advisors, and we asked them, do you want to work with business owners? 80% of them put their hands up. They want to work with you, right? But then we start looking at, well, do you have the technical expertise? Do you actually understand what's going on?
Right.
And we find that the level of knowledge is high. So for example, I just put out a list on the top 10 wealth planning secrets used by successful entrepreneurs. And the first strategy on this list is something called a defined benefit plan that allows business owners to put a lot of money away.
Right.
But when we talk to advisors and we ask them, we say, do you know about defined benefit plans? Once again, about 70% of them put their hand up and say, oh yeah, we know all about these. Then we ask a follow-up question and say, well, have you ever done one single plan for one single client, right? Pretty low bar. Have you done one for one client? Now the number is 6.8%.
Wow.
And so the differential between knowledge of the financial world versus actually implementing these things to the client, massive.
Right.
And so there really is an advice problem. And I think that's why business owners and entrepreneurs are so worried about, well, who do I turn to? Who do I talk to? Because they don't know how to find the right advisors.
Well, and so many of them try and do it themselves. They're smart people. They can use Google, and they're thinking, okay, this is not a big deal. It should be pretty easy. I can do some investing. And, as we record this, the stock market went way down yesterday. It's back up today, and which is, that's the way the stock market, for everybody who's, all panicky, it's supposed to be doing those type of things. I mean, but if you shouldn't be the one who's really looking at that. That is what your financial advisor is for. And more importantly, your financial advisor should be telling you that wonderful word called diversify, and all of these various things that we, as the business owner, the entrepreneur, can't think about. We're thinking about our business. We absolutely have to have a financial planner helping us who knows what they're doing.
Well, and you need someone who's going to offer you advice beyond the investments.
Right.
I mean, this is so critical. In my practice, we define wealth management. We actually have a wealth management formula that tells people, here's what wealth management is. And there's 5 key areas. And the first one is when I have my investment advisor hat on, and that's the investments. And those are certainly important, right? That's the number one concern of business owners, is take care of my money. But that's the only thing, right? That's the first concern. 100% of financial advisors do that. Some do it better than others.
Right.
But kind of the dirty secret that not a lot of people talk about is once you reach a certain level, everyone's got the same portfolio.
Mhm.
And if
Right.
that's the only value you're
Mhm.
adding to someone is I'm going to manage your money better than the other guy,
Mhm.
you should look for another advisor, because there's
Right.
4 other key areas
Mm.
that business owners are
Mhm.
so concerned with.
Right.
Number 1 is wealth enhancement. I've never met a business owner who says, I want to pay more than my fair share in taxes.
Right.
Most of them
Yeah.
say, I want to pay my fair share,
Mhm.
not a penny more.
Mhm.
Then there's wealth transfer, right? How do you get your money, your assets, your business to the next generation, the people that you care
Mhm.
about? Then there's wealth protection, right? Litigation is huge.
Mhm.
Protection of
Right.
everything you've worked so
Mhm.
hard for, making sure it's not unjustly taken from lawsuit, divorce, some other unjust means.
Mhm.
And then lastly, about a third of the people I work with, very charitably inclined. They've got
Mhm.
causes that they're passionate about, but they don't have a well thought out plan for
Mhm.
maximizing that impact. So those 4 other key areas, that's where you can really move the
Mhm.
needle. And it has nothing to do with investments,
Right.
nothing whatsoever.
Right. And of course, many financial planners certainly, they're, the ones that out there, they only care about where they're going to get money back.
Mm-hmm,
And, some of those things that you talked about, they're obviously not going to benefit from,
mm-hmm,
especially if they're telling you, hello, give your money away, to a
mm-hmm,
nonprofit, to a charity. And so that's where it's so key to find someone that you absolutely trust. So
yeah,
how does somebody go about finding someone like that? Because
yeah.
that's the other thing is we all think, oh, they're just out for our money. And that's what the
Mm-hmm.
television commercials are showing us too.
Yeah. Well, and the truth is a lot are. So how do you find those vetted professionals? Well,
Mhm.
there's really a couple key things. Number 1, talk to your trusted advisors, talk to your
Mm,
CPA, talk to your attorney,
right.
right? Talk to the people you are already collaborating with
Mhm.
and really, really trust.
Mhm.
Second, look for a advisor who's a thought leader. Look for someone who's
Mm,
out there speaking,
mhm.
writing, publishing,
Mhm.
right? Look for someone who's driving the industry forward
Mhm.
and others are going to for advice. And
Mhm.
then lastly, you can ask your peers, other
Mhm.
people that you work with, who are you working with? What are those advisors doing for you?
Right.
And actually, interestingly, in the research, and another book I was involved in, Elite
Mhm.
Wealth Planning, and this is lessons from the super rich. These
Mhm.
are extraordinary families worth
Mhm.
500 million or more. I don't have any clients like that, but I certainly want to learn
Right.
from clients like
Mhm.
that. And one of the things that comes out of the research is something we call the human element.
Mm.
And when we look at advisors, most advisors, right, once you reach that upper level,
Mhm.
they've got the technical expertise.
Mhm.
So what differentiates the
Right.
professionals that the super rich work with
Mhm.
from everyone else? Well,
Mhm.
that's what we call the human element. And
Mm.
this is why the super rich build family offices. That's why they
Mhm.
assemble a team of the best, is they want advisors
Right.
who get them, who
Mhm.
understand them, who are going to achieve their goals,
Mhm.
not the advisor's goals.
Mhm.
And that human element is so key in finding an advisor. You want to work with someone who gets you
Mhm.
and puts you at the center,
Mhm.
not themselves.
Right. Right. And it's funny because we do that with other people in our lives, especially professionals, a medical professional, we want a doctor that understands when I say this hurts, they're not going to say, oh yeah, whatever, things like that. And dentists,
Hmm.
great, they're in the medical profession, we want to build, relationships with those people. And I find it really ironic that we don't build those relationships with the people who are managing our money. So many times we hear the bad stories,
Hmm.
or we don't even try. Back to the fact that many people think, oh, I really don't need a financial planner, and so many people think I don't have enough to even bother with, and there are certainly business owners and individuals who they don't have a lot of money, but the goal is to make that money and and to stop thinking, are we going to make payroll this month?
Hmm.
Uh-oh, that phone's ringing, who's wanting money from me? And so by working with a financial planner, that's going to help you get to that point.
Yeah. But right, once again, not just financial planners, right?
Hmm.
You need someone who understands the world of business owners
Right.
because the planning is
Hmm.
so different, right?
Hmm.
If you're working at a job, if you've got W-2
Hmm.
income, you don't have much control over that. Maybe you get a
Right.
raise year after year, you
Hmm.
put some money in your 401k.
Hmm.
That's all the planning
Right.
you got to worry about.
Hmm.
All of a sudden, when you own a business, once again, that
Hmm.
complexity of your financial world has just skyrocketed.
Hmm.
Now it's right. How do you manage employees? How do you
Hmm.
maximize your benefits? Right? How do you deal with all your insurance issues? Then
Hmm.
what's your transition strategy look like? And those are so important for business owners because
Hmm.
once again, something that comes out of the research is we find time and time again, business owners want to continue to grow their wealth.
Right.
And it has nothing to do with greed, but they want to take care of the people they love and build that amazing life of significance. They want to, change the world for the better, support the causes that matter,
Right.
and really have that impact. And they realize they have a gift of earning money. Now it's how do we maximize what we're doing, right? How do we increase our valuation? How do we put more away, right? How do we shelter it from taxes? So once again, way beyond the investments.
Right. Right. And it is planning. I mean, back to, I wrote in all caps on my little list here, plan. Plan for the future. And as you said, that stress test, be thinking about what happens if.
Yeah.
I was just, I mentioned a little bit ago, how the stock market went up and down, in the last couple of days because of coronavirus. Everybody needs to be thinking about, maybe not specifically the coronavirus, but what would happen if, I'm from Colorado where, there were times where, and here in Atlanta, it's actually worse. If it snows, things come to a screeching halt and can for days. Is your business the type of business that if you lose 1 or 2 days, you're not going to meet payroll that month? All these various things. Health, again, if you are the primary person, what happens if, and what happens if it's short term? And then obviously what happens if it's long term? And, and you're not hoping for those things to go, but we can't be ostriches. We absolutely must be planning for those things.
Well, and that stress testing, right? That's a strategy that comes right down to us, right? Right down from the super rich. When we look at family offices, which are the structure the super rich use to manage their financial affairs, within the last 5 years, 96% of them have done a stress test on their financial plans.
Wow.
And the reason for that is so clear. At lower levels of wealth, we find typically people have a lot of errors in their financial plans. Things are set up incorrectly, but the consequence of those errors, pretty small. As your wealth grows, you're going to have less errors in your plan, but the cost of making a mishap and the cost of an error gets magnified dramatically. And that's why the super rich are trusting but verifying their plans. They're questioning the underlying assumptions and making sure, is it actually going to perform as I think it's going to perform?
Right. And you're talking about the people that, as you say, 500 million and more, but it's the same principle.
Absolutely.
If it's $50.
Yep.
It's obviously a question of scale.
Yeah. And these are strategies that can be used by everyone, no matter your level of net worth. And that's what's so great about it is we are learning from the best of the best, and we're able to bring it down to everyone, regardless of your financial situation.
Right. Well, one of the things that you talk about are the top 10 secrets that successful entrepreneurs use to increase their cash flow. Tell us some of those.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just cash flow. These are the things that really driven entrepreneurs are using to maximize their personal wealth. These are little known strategies among most, lower net worth and specifically among many financial advisors. These are the things that they raise their hand and say, yeah, I know about that, but I've actually never done it. So let's walk through them. I'll give you a real high level overview. The first we already touched on, and that's defined benefit plans. And specifically, a lot of business owners will reach a point where they've outgrown their 401k and their profit share, and they may actually even be bumping against the limits of their current defined benefit plan.
Right.
Well, we can restructure these and do what's known as a defined focused benefit plan. We're able to recalculate it, get you a lot more money in the plan. So if you've got high income and you're looking for a way to really shelter money, these defined benefit plans are a great way to do that because the owner can actually keep a significant amount of every dollar that goes in the plan. And so that's tip number one is the defined benefit plans. Very, very useful. Another highlight, number 4, captive insurance companies. How many of our audience, right? How many of you listeners are you paying premiums every single month to an insurance company? How would you like to pay those premiums to yourself? Well, that's what a captive insurance company does.
I've never even heard of this.
There you go, right? This is a risk management tool where the business owner can set up their own closely held insurance company and they insure their own risk. Now, instead of paying premiums to someone else, you're paying them to yourself. When claims are made, you pay yourself out. Now, there's certainly rules that have to be followed. Really, really powerful tool, though, for growing wealth. Captive insurance companies. widely used among the super rich, among business owners and entrepreneurs?
Right.
Not quite as much because they just don't know. No one's told them.
Right.
Let's see, another great tip, and I think we talked about it in our intro, is that's longevity planning. People are living longer and longer and longer, right? Medical advances, many of us are going to make it to 100. But have we stress tested that? Or are we prepared for the longevity? What are we doing to increase our health? Healthcare in America, massive, massive problem, right? How many of us are working with concierge medical professionals and concierge doctors so that we can get the care we want? I sure am. Many of my clients are. I can pick up my doctor right now and get him on the phone, right? That's the kind of relationship we need with our healthcare professionals so that we're planning for the future. And another big one is actually reducing or eliminating the taxes on the sale of a business, right? Many of us have businesses. When we sell them, we want to pay as little taxes as possible. Well, we can do that through strategies where we freeze the value of the business. We're able to give it to a trust, live off the income, avoid those capital gains. Right? These are huge things that create massive, massive value for business owners and entrepreneurs. Once again, widely known among the super rich, not so used among many business owners and entrepreneurs.
And of
Simply
course,
because they don't know.
they're all legal. There's absolutely nothing wrong with doing any of these. Things change a bit on occasion, like amounts that you can do and, various things like that. But, for everybody whose eyes just crossed partway through as you were describing those, again, that's why you hire somebody to have them do this for you.
Yeah, right. Once again, going back to lessons from the super rich that we can bring down to everyone, no matter their net worth. The super rich don't do this themselves.
No.
And there's a myth that I think a lot of business owners, a lot of entrepreneurs believe. I know I certainly did. And that myth is I have to be an expert in all things.
Yes. I started this business. I must know all.
I must know everything. And the problem we have with that is we reach the end of our lives and all of a sudden we're mediocre in a whole bunch of things instead of really good in one area. And I know your listeners certainly want to be really good at one thing. That's how you create value. So you should delegate this stuff and you want to work with the experts who understand these things. These are not things you implement yourself.
And again, we do that in our personal lives. We hire the doctor. We don't change our own oil, in our cars, all these various things. And so I always find it very ironic and amusing. And again, I'll put my own hand up that, we try and do it ourselves. We don't. And part of that is because, yes, there is a cost involved. And if you are a small business, maybe starting out, all these various, you're thinking, why do I have to hire a CPA? Why do I have to hire an attorney? Well, as we've talked about many times on this program, if you don't set things up right to start with, sometimes it can cost you your entire business. So spend the money up front, figure out how you're going to do it, but do it and then continue with those. Have, as you said, that team of people, that CPA, that lawyer, all of those people who are kind of your board of directors.
Yeah, and you can certainly do this in a cost-effective manner, right? No one's talking about spending tons of money to do this.
No, the $700 an hour attorneys, probably not what you need.
Yeah, but you can certainly do it in a cost-effective way that's going to allow you to keep focusing on your business and achieving your goals.
Right.
Super important. And those are just a couple of tips. I'm happy to send that list to anyone who wants it, share it with them. Because like I said, these really have a big impact for business owners.
Right. And again, it's any level. It doesn't matter what, and maybe you can't do some of those things right now, but it comes back to planning. You're planning that in 5 years, you're going to be, you're going to have that self-insurance type of policy, all these various things, because that is how you get to that point.
Yeah, right. Exactly. You know what's out there and you start heading towards it. It's gap analysis. Look at where you are now. Where do you want to go? And what are the gaps?
Right. And then, planning, doing the stress planning, because in that gap, there's going to be things that happen, positive and negative. I mean, all of a sudden you might be making more than you had planned on. Woo, that's great. Yeah. But that means that your time frame just shortened. So if you weren't planning, then you could get yourself in trouble. And, and so you want to make sure you've done that. And, and then of course, bad things happen. And, like we said, you get to the top of that mountain, you think, and danged if that wind doesn't come up and knock you off that mountain.
Yes, right.
So, it's one of those things where, you have to continually be planning, which is hard because we're trying to run our business. And so that's, but we just we have to be doing these things to make
Hmm.
sure that our business is an ongoing business entity.
Yep. Yeah, right. And that's where the question of, right, what kind of advisor do
Hmm.
you really need, right? How do
Hmm.
all these different advisors fit out, and,
Hmm.
and what do you need for where you are right now
Right.
in life? And I'll
Hmm.
actually share my screen with you if it's okay.
Yep. Let's see. Let me get to share screen.
It should hopefully pop up
Did it
for
do
you.
it? Let's see. I see your screen, but I'm not
All right.
sure. We're going to assume that everybody else can see it. So but describe it well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it starts with success, right? How do we actually define success?
Hmm.
What does that look like? And there's three components that we found go into being successful. One
Okay.
is precision,
Hmm.
then it's implementation,
Hmm.
and it's access. So
Okay.
what are those three things?
Hmm.
Precision is really the degree of certainty that you're going to be able to hit your financial goals, right?
Okay.
How certain are you that
Mm.
you're going to hit your goals?
Okay.
Then it's implementation, right?
Hmm.
Well, what's the degree that you've actually gotten to those goals that you set, right? So
Hmm.
precision gives you the goals, implementation gives you those desired results.
Hmm.
And then lastly is access, right? It's the confidence
Mm.
that you're actually going to
Hmm.
get those goals that you've set.
Hmm.
So to go through that again, right? To be
Hmm.
clear, it's that precision
Hmm.
really gives you your goals.
Okay.
It's the implementation that's going to give you
Hmm.
the results that you're looking for.
Hmm.
And then lastly, the access gives you the confidence
Hmm.
that you're looking for. So
Right.
how do we tie this all in? What are
Okay.
the different advisors?
Hmm.
And what does that look like when we start breaking this down? Well, down at the bottom is what I call unqualified advice. And I'm going to assume no one in your audience has unqualified
Hmm.
advice, right? These are the people who just don't know what they're doing.
And
The
the people on Facebook who are saying,
Yeah,
this is what you should be doing.
right, right. Everyone's a business. I think my poodle runs a business
Hmm.
consulting company
Hmm.
these days. You should see their Facebook ads. They're brilliant. No,
I know.
but right, everyone's a consultant, and very few have the actual
Hmm.
expertise. So that's the
Right.
unqualified advice. The really first level is that investment advisor.
Hmm.
And going back to that success equation, right? The focus is singular. It's
Hmm.
your investments. By very definition, your goals are going to be limited to a
Hmm.
single area.
Right.
You're going to have limited confidence that you're achieving all
Mm.
that's important to you.
Hmm.
And you're going to get results once again in that single area.
Hmm.
And so often we're working with these investment advisors, and it's just that lack of time and focus that
Right.
you've talked about, right? We're so
Hmm.
busy running our companies.
Hmm.
And the myth that we believe is, I'm going to get to that later, right?
Hmm.
I'll get to it sooner or later.
Hmm.
But the truth is, later is always too late, right?
Hmm.
Later is too late.
Hmm.
By the time the plane's saying pull up, pull up, pull up, it's too late to
Hmm.
correct anything. So that next level up, we have a financial advisor.
Mm.
And the financial advisor, you're going to get limited results, right?
Hmm.
And maybe the financial advisor will be, responsive to you if you say, hey, I need to do something on my business, or
Hmm.
how do I shelter more taxes? They may be responsive and refer you to
Hmm.
someone who can do that. But once again, by its very nature, your goals are going to be bounded. They're going to be
Hmm.
bounded by what you are knowledgeable about. You're going to have incomplete confidence
Mm.
in achieving all that's important
Hmm.
to you. And you're going to have restricted results because it's going to be bound by your knowledge and
Hmm.
what you're trying to achieve. And it's going to rest on you having to know these things. So then
Hmm.
we move up to a wealth manager, and wealth manager is certainly better.
Hmm.
Now you're getting extensive advice on a wide ranging area of your financial life. Your goals going to be much more complete, right? You're going to be extensive goals, wide-ranging areas. Those 5 key areas we talked about earlier: wealth
Right.
enhancement, wealth protection, wealth transfer, charitable gifting. Wide range. You're going to really have a quiet confidence that you're able to achieve your most important goals,
Hmm.
and you're going to get those results in a wide range of entire areas.
Hmm.
And that's great. And for many of us, that's a good place to be.
Hmm.
But as we kind of move up the hierarchy, we think, well, good enough's good enough, right? It's
Right.
good enough.
I'm doing good. I got quite a bit of money in the bank.
Everything's just fine. Well, the
Hmm.
truth is, it's possible to have the best. And what is the
Mm.
best? Well, it goes back to that family office concept that we've talked about. And for many of us, establishing a family office on our own, absolutely impossible. The level of
Mm.
wealth is just astronomical.
Hmm.
But a lot of technological changes, regulatory changes have allowed us to build bespoke virtual family offices
Mm.
for high-performing entrepreneurs.
Right.
So I've got 47 different professionals that I've vetted, everything from captive insurance specialists to defined benefit plan special, private aviation, some of the best concierge medical professionals in the entire world that we can bring on an as-needed basis.
Right.
And once you reach that virtual family office, comprehensive results, all areas of your life, not just financial, but personal, wealth transfer, health, longevity planning, all those things that really matter. Goals, absolutely maximized.
Right.
You're going to have authentic confidence that you're reaching your most important goals. And you're going to really get those results in all the areas that you're looking for. And so this hierarchy I find is really, really helpful. And the great news is not all of us need a virtual family office.
Right.
Not all of us need a wealth manager. Not all of us even need a financial advisor. You may just need a really good investment advisor.
Right.
But
because you have to have that foundation before you can start moving up.
Exactly. But if your life is complex, if you've got that business that is really, really driving you, and you've got things that you can't manage, then the virtual family office is really what you want to have, because you are going to address all those complex issues.
Right.
And so that's really, I think, and I hope that helps everyone sort through, what kind of advisor do I need? Because there's advisors for you no matter where you are on the spectrum.
Right. Let's see. I'm going to
I
stop your
take
sharing.
that off. Yep.
There we go.
Perfect.
We're back.
Hey.
Yay. Hopefully that worked. I've never done that before. Very
All
cool.
right.
Very cool. And it's, again, I keep coming back to that one word, plan. We have to plan. And it's so funny because we plan other things. We plan our vacations. We plan all sorts of things, but we don't plan financially. And we certainly don't want to talk to our family about it. And they should be involved in this process, because your business is probably helping take care of them, or it could be completely taking care of them. So you need to make sure that they are a part of this process.
Yeah, it's so true. Sitting down with your family, involving everyone, right? The business is the engine that drives everything.
Right.
And so often when we look at wealth creation, the biggest creator of wealth here has been business ownership. It's not inheriting money. You certainly can make a lot of money that way, but that's rare. It is through creating and having equity in a business. That's how you create wealth.
Right.
That's how you become seriously wealthy.
Yeah. I've interviewed several people fairly recently about valuing your business and then selling it. And frequently the problem comes in that the spouse did not have enough knowledge about the business. They almost always are going to overvalue it, because they really don't know what it is and all of those things. And so then when someone a broker typically comes in and says, okay, it's worth $500,000. They're like, no. It's worth $1 million. I know it's worth $1 million. He went every day. It should be worth $1 million. And they're of course crushed when that's not going to happen. Or, maybe it was that the kids were in there and working in the business and thinking, hey, we're going to take over. And that really wasn't part of the plan, all these various things. So you have to involve your family and just, to some degree, your employees. Maybe you are planning on the fact that your employees are a big part of this, and some of them might reach the level, and your business might reach the level where they're going to be taken care of differently in the business. You might need to be having them on key man insurance policies, all sorts of things.
Yeah, right. There's so many different directions that you can go with the planning. And that's why coming back to, the human element that we talked about earlier, right? It's what do you actually want to achieve? Because if you can get really clear on that, all of a sudden the right strategies and products and tactics, they become really, really clear. And there's so many professionals today, they've got a hammer in whatever their specialty is, and everything's a nail. Right? Whatever they got, that's the solution to your problem.
Yep. We're going to make it work.
This will work perfect for you. Let me show you what I got. Instead of saying, well, what is it that you actually want to achieve? And then having that family office so they can bring in the right professionals. And that's part of what I do for my clients is manage these other professionals, right? Because so often you've got to say, hey, you're being brought in for this and this only, don't do anything else.
Right. Right. Yeah, because that's where it does get tricky is, they might have other areas of knowledge, but that's not why they're part of the team.
Exactly. So yeah, managing the professionals, absolutely huge.
Right. I want to digress for a little bit here. One of the things that we talked about in your intro is the fact that you focus a lot of what you do on dental practices. And I love that when I was reading that, because I'm always telling people, when you are setting up your business, you absolutely have to figure out who your niche is. Who should be buying your product or your service? And it is never, ever, 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 never everyone. Because part of that is you're thinking, well, I'm going to sell to everybody because that's how I make the most money. Well, that's the biggest time waster. Starbucks knows that not everybody likes Starbucks. Walmart knows that not everybody likes Walmart. And so tell us a little bit more, because dentists, I mean, that's a pretty small niche. But tell us how you worked in now, obviously your wife is a dentist, so that did probably lean you a little that
Mhm.
way. But tell us more about how you really decided that was your niche and you were going to go with that.
Yeah. Well, right, like I mentioned earlier, right? When I couldn't help my wife solve her most important
Hmm.
issues, I really was in a job I hated, and I couldn't take care of the
Hmm.
person who mattered the most to me.
Right.
And part of that misery that I was having as an advisor at that time is I'd work with anyone, which
Mm.
meant every time I brought on a
Right.
new client, I had to relearn everything. If it was
Hmm.
a teacher, I had to go learn all about the
Right.
pensions. If it was an engineer, I had to learn about their program,
Hmm.
right? It was a nightmare. I had
Hmm.
to relearn the wheel every single day.
Hmm.
And I really wasn't having a big impact for people because I was so spread out.
Right.
And I would argue, right, having a niche is really about specializing
Hmm.
and being able to have a big impact for the chosen group of
Hmm.
people that you can move the needle for.
Right.
And as I got deeper and deeper into dentistry and really grew to understand the industry and the practices and the players and the network,
Hmm.
it just became something I fell more in love with
Hmm.
because I can have a big impact for the clients that I have the privilege of serving.
Right.
And it's even grown now where, and I certainly work with other business owners, I certainly
Hmm.
work with other entrepreneurs, but
Right.
I'll tell you 90% are dentists.
Hmm.
And there's even a growing segment of much higher end dentists that I
Hmm.
call dentalpreneurs. And
Mm.
these are people who are building multi-practices, 5, 10,
Oh,
15,
okay.
30
Hmm.
locations, enterprise dentistry. I
Hmm.
love that world
Mm.
because what they're creating is so powerful.
Hmm.
So yeah, having a niche, and anyone listening,
Hmm.
if you don't have a niche, right, don't just think about who you can sell your product to.
Hmm.
Think about who can I have an impact for? Who
Right.
can I change the most?
Hmm.
Who can I really move the needle
Right.
for?
Right.
And who am I passionate
Hmm.
about serving?
Hmm.
And if it meets those criterias, you're going to find a fantastic
Hmm.
niche and you're going to be able to serve that community better than
Hmm.
anyone else.
Right. And obviously the issues that your wife faced were not unique,
Mhm.
and that was what's important about this, is so many people think, well, that might have been a one-time occurrence. No, there's nothing that's unique anymore.
Mhm.
And so the fact that you took what you learned from her to transition into helping others, that's what's so cool about it. And it has not obviously limited you in any way. And because that's what so many people tend to think is, well, when I get that small niche, I'm going to be so limited. If it
Mhm.
doesn't work here, what am I going to do? Well, you should have done enough research to know, is it going to work there or not?
Mhm.
But yeah, it's just, I love it that you are so specific with that. And like you said, there's others, I mean, but the nice thing is it does give you, and this is one of the hardest things for people to understand, gives you the flexibility to say no,
Mhm.
to be able to say, you know what, that's not my love or my excuse me, my area of expertise. Here's somebody that I can refer you to.
Yep.
And that is hard. That's really hard, especially if you're
Mhm.
starting out or struggling to tell somebody no. But, I loved how you talked about the fact that you had to relearn every time somebody came to you.
Mhm.
And that's the hard part. We end up spending so much money and time mainly, having to do all of that. And so find your niche and stick with it. And sometimes it might be a struggle for a while. Clearly you weren't an overnight success, but you stuck with it, and you did branch out in some ways, but the way you branched out is you speak at dental conventions. You found different ways to get your message to that niche.
Yeah, very true. And real quickly, you talk about, for business owners starting out, and I certainly have a passion for all new business owners, and I
Hmm.
want them to be more successful than anyone else because I,
Hmm.
I love business owners because they change the world. But I think one of the reasons we have a hard time when we're starting out trying to narrow our focus
Hmm.
is we're coming from a place of scarcity.
Right.
And we think there's so much scarcity,
Hmm.
I need to get everything I can get
Yep.
instead of having a mindset of abundance.
Hmm.
Because once you really see that there's
Hmm.
more business out there than any of us can handle,
Hmm.
it becomes really easy to
Right.
specialize
Hmm.
and have that niche because the world is full of abundance.
Hmm.
And it's not a zero-sum game. The
Right.
more we help others, the more we grow their
Hmm.
wealth, the more our wealth grows. It's not a
Hmm.
it's not a winner take all. It's
Right.
winners take all
Hmm. Hmm.
together. So
Right. Well, and it's always important to remember that when you serve that community well, there is nothing better than word of mouth.
mhm,
And because they're going to talk to each other, and it doesn't matter what the industry is, what the service, what the product is, the other people who provide it are going to say, you need to talk to this person. They
mhm.
really helped me. Because they're, and now they might not tell their direct competitor that, but they will share that information with others, and word of mouth is, of course, the best form of advertising.
Yes, it is. So that's good. And then, right, depending on your business, you'll find
Hmm.
out where, your clients, where your customers come from
Hmm.
and invest time and energy in those sources.
Hmm. Right. Well, we mentioned the fact that you wrote the foreword in this book. Hold the book up. It's called
Okay.
Becoming Seriously Wealthy: How to Harness the Strategies of the Super Rich and Ultra Wealthy Business Owners. How did you get involved in this process?
So this is, something that's come directly out of my participation in a mastermind group. And
Ah.
many people listening
Hmm.
today may be part of a business
Hmm.
mastermind or CEO group. And these are groups, we got another book on it, where I've been able to collaborate with
Hmm.
189 of my peers
Hmm.
and underwrite research and do projects that there's no way I could do on my own.
Right.
But collectively,
Hmm.
we're able to do some amazing things. And that's where this project, along with, I think we're up to about 12 other books have come out of,
Hmm.
where we're really studying business owners, entrepreneurs. Our most recent one is called Reaching for the Stars. And we've got interviews with Dan Sullivan and Joe Polish and
Hmm.
Dave Asprey of Bulletproof Coffee, right? Some of the best of
Hmm.
the best, how they're using mastermind groups to
Hmm.
grow their success.
Right.
And that's where Becoming Seriously Wealthy came from, was
Hmm.
through that process of collaborating with others.
Hmm.
And I was brought in to write the forward because they know I'm a subject matter expert on this
Hmm.
area.
Right. And I love the fact that, when we're talking wealthy, we're not just talking money. And yes, I mean, that is obviously the big part of it. But there are other things. It's kind of the, how do you describe success? Well, every person probably describes it differently. And so, that's the thing is, so talk to us a little bit more about what it is that really makes somebody seriously wealthy.
Yeah, so actually for the book, we do have a definition of that, and we define it as $20 million of personal net worth outside your business.
Hmm.
And 20 million was picked on purpose because at 20 million, you can start getting access to private jets.
Right.
That's a pretty nice thing. So
Hmm.
so arbitrary number, but that's where we
Hmm.
defined it. But wealth is so much more than money. It
Hmm.
really is. And that's why you go back to what are the three things that ultimately I'm helping business owners do, and it's
Hmm.
take better care of the people they love.
Hmm.
First and foremost, right? They want to support the people who are close to them,
Hmm.
the people they care about. Then they want to support those causes that they're passionate about.
Hmm.
And they know that money is a way to do that, right?
Right.
Money moves the needles for things. I
Hmm.
think I saw a news story today. We're giving $2.5 billion to fight the virus that's out there, right? So
Hmm.
so money moves the needle
Hmm.
on things.
Right.
And then lastly, it's changing the world for the better
Hmm.
by having a big impact.
Hmm.
And that's what they realize money does. And that's why they're after it. They're not just putting it in their bank account for the sake
Hmm.
of putting it there. They're earning money, they're
Hmm.
growing their wealth so they can continue to change the world.
Right.
So that really what it
Hmm.
is. And you don't have to have $20 million in the bank to change the world. It can
Hmm.
be as simple as being kind to the person that you're in the line with at
Right.
the supermarket. It can
Hmm.
be as simple as spending 15 minutes with another business owner who's struggling, right?
Hmm.
There's many, many ways to do this.
Hmm. Right. And that does come back to that definition of success.
Mhm.
Did you help someone today? And it's funny because everybody does have a different definition. Way
Yeah.
back, way back, way back when I
Mhm.
had my 10-year high school reunion. one of the things that somebody wanted to, you have things like who came the furthest, who has the most kids, all those fun little awards. And somebody said, oh, we need to give one for who is the most successful. And I said, what do you mean? And of course she meant who had the most money. And I'm thinking, okay, first of all, how are you going to even find that out? But I told her, I said, that is such an arbitrary thing. The person who is the stay-at-home parent with 4 kids might actually be the most successful.
Yes.
And the person who has the most money might be the most unhappy.
Yeah.
So, it comes back to individual, and, and that's where, again, you have to work with the people who get that, who aren't just saying, okay, we have to put your money here because of this. We have to do this because of this.
Yeah, you want those advisors who get you. And I know we're nearing the end of our time, and I want to leave all the listeners with
let's do a little stress testing. What the heck is this?
Well, right. I want to share with them. This is something they can go back. You can do this today, right now, with your existing team.
Okay, homework, everybody.
You don't need me. If you do one thing, this is what I want you to go do. And I'll share my screen with you again and give you the rationale and show you why stress testing is so important.
Okay.
But, oops, if I can get to the right slide here, Deb.
I love technology.
There we go. So right here we are, right? This is today, and we are all heading towards our future financial world, right? We're all going to be there. This is 5 years from now. And some of us, we are drifting towards an optimal financial world.
Okay.
Some of us are drifting towards financial security. Some of us towards financial insecurity. And some of us towards a financial mess. Every single one of us is on one of these lines. And we are really drifting towards these futures. And if we wait too long to catch these things, you may find yourself in a situation that's absolutely impossible to recover from, costly to recover from, risky to recover from, and it just becomes harder and harder to recover from. And what we want to do, what stress testing does, is it helps you jump the lines. It helps you accelerate your success. This is why the super rich stress test their plans and why you should stress test your plans also. By taking decisive action, you can ride the curves and end up in an optimal financial world instead of a financial mess. And that's what stress testing does, is it catches these things and it adjusts where you're drifting to. So what's the super rich rationale for stress testing? Well, number one, they want to avoid those destructive situations, right? If you've got an error in your plans, like my wife and I had, or maybe there's something in your estate plan or your business planning or your tax planning, you want to catch those. Secondly, you want to make sure you're benefiting from all possible opportunities. Does a captive insurance company make sense? Does a defined benefit plan? What are the other opportunities that maybe you're missing out on, or your existing team just doesn't know? So that's the rationale. We know the need is, so many of us have done wealth planning, but circumstances have changed. Or maybe there's been death, divorce, right? A change in your family life. Secondly, your wealth planning often done incrementally. Maybe you went to a financial advisor and did some stuff. Then you went to an insurance person and did some stuff. Then
you read Google and you did stuff.
Bingo, right? You went to Dr. Google, right? And so there's a lack of synergy. And often, right, you talked about cost. Oftentimes there's an opportunity for cost reduction. And the wealth planning just isn't as good as it can be. Maybe you were working with a pretender, or worse, you were working with an exploiter, someone who's just out there.
They were that we want to make as much money for us as we can.
Exactly. Or someone focused on technical wizardry and not the human element. You weren't center of your wealth planning. So this is the need for stress testing. And you want to go back, you can work the assumptions. I'll send anyone an article on this if they want to go more in depth. But this is something you can go back and you can do with your existing team. You may stay the course. You may choose a different solution, find different professionals, modify the approach. But doing stress testing can really help optimize your financial world. And if you want that optimal financial world, stress testing is the best way to uncover those errors and really have an impact. And so that's something I want to leave your audience with, because they can go back and do that with whoever they work with. Just go in and say, I want to stress test these things. Tell me about what's going on.
Right. And then be thinking about other things. What if you were sick? What if the market changed? What if, all of these various things, all of the mom and pop places that thought, hey, we're going to have this forever. And then that little thing called Amazon came along. what if those things happen? Now, sometimes you have the magic ball and you're trying to predict the future and you can't. I mean, who would have thought 10 years, when did they start Amazon? I don't know. But they started it as the bookstore. I mean, right? That's where we ordered books. And then of course it expanded from there. And I'm not sure anybody could have predicted that it would have been, what it came to. So, that's one of those things, but you still have to plan on what happens if. So do those things, as scary as they might be, because you might discover, oh my gosh, we've got a big gap. We've got a problem, and if possible, then fix it.
Yep. Well, and that's exactly what stress testing does. And not just in the financial world. Some stress testing questions may be, what if that charity I've supported changes their political views?
Right.
What if I need extended care? What happens if I don't have the faculties to make choices anymore? Or on a really personal level, what if I want to leave money to my lover and I don't want my spouse and kids to know, right? These are real human element questions. And that's what stress testing is designed to find and test.
Right. Well, oh my gosh, Tim, this has been so cool. And it was funny. I told you before we started the program that I set the timer because 3 hours from now we could still be going, which we could, because, we just barely scratched the surface with what the book talks about. So we just have to have you on again. And there's certainly lots of other things that you could be telling professionals as to what they could be doing. But in the meantime, how do they reach you and connect with you online?
I'm really easy to find. You can find me on LinkedIn at Tim McNeely. You can go to my website at lifestoneco.com and grab a copy of Becoming Seriously Wealthy, or you can email me at tim@lifestoneco.com. And if you ask nicely, I'll send you a PDF of the book for free.
That's what I have. Look, we asked nicely. And this really has been great. And as we've been saying, it would be great to be the super wealthy. Actually, I'm not sure I would want to be. That comes with a whole bunch of different problems. But we all want to be comfortable. We all want to know that our family, our loved ones, our pets. I saw that, you actually talked about in your blog, that your pets are taken care of. In our will, we take care of our pets, and all of these various things. So, it's things that everybody needs to be thinking about, not just the people that are worth $20+ million.
Yeah, this is all down the scale. This is every entrepreneur, every business owner really should be thinking about these things and considering them. Because like I wrote in the foreword, it comes down to three things. Take care of the people you love, support the causes you care about, change the world. That is true wealth.
Right. Yeah. And again, it can be little, it can be great big, but it's what makes you happy in the end, and that is what is so important. So Tim, tell us one more time, what is something that you just gave some real good final tips. Is there anything else that you really want people to know?
I'm going to leave it with the stress testing. That to me is so key. Check your plans, trust but verify, right? Trust the advisors you work with, but verify their assumptions, because doing that may just make the difference between an optimal financial world and a financial mess. And if you're not sure, then get a second opinion. We talk about that in the book. Get a second opinion and work with a team of advisors and people who get you and who put you at the center of your world.
Right. Great information on your website. Again, tell us what that is. LifeStoneCo.com.
Perfect. And find me on LinkedIn or Facebook and share content regularly, and happy to send you any resources to help you move the needle on your most important goals.
I love it. And that works even if we're not dentists.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as we said, you've got your niche, but your information is great for everybody. And that's what is so good about this. If you are a dentist, I really do encourage you, or if you, and we all should have a dentist, we should tell our dentist, hey, you need to talk to Tim. It's funny. My dentist actually practices with his wife. See, so he even adds a total different layer in there. But yeah, so this really has been fascinating. I've been having a great time talking with Tim McNeely. I'm Deb Creer. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.